Live. We are live. Welcome to Hack Check Studios, you guys. This is our Thibert, 35-year comic book veteran. It's actually been longer than that. I'm just used to saying 35. I worked a few years prior to the 35. I think I put like 2 years in the independents, and I don't really count those. So I worked on Myth Adventures with Jim Valentino and did some various other things, but I don't really count those. So it's really more like 36 years in the mainstream, maybe 37, 38 with all my indie stuff. So that's a long time. I'm an old man. That's crazy. We have Oni, 64. What's up, brother? I don't know what that is. Fire horse. I can't even see it. My eyes are so bad. It looks like death metal horns. Metal horns. I like that. We have Daniel C. What's up, Daniel C? How are you guys? Well, I am going to do some hippie art, some drug art, and I teased this. I think it was Monday or Tuesday earlier in the week that I was going to bring this fantastic Mike Mignola drawing to life with some ink, and that's exactly what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to do some dancing. I'm going to do some what do they call that? What do they call tap dancing? Soft shoeing. I'm going to do my soft shoe routine for you guys. I'm going vaudeville, baby. I'm going vaudeville. I am so old. I am old enough to remember vaudeville. No, I'm not. If I say it, you guys will start, tweeting it out. Art remembers vaudeville. Ha, ha, ha. No, I do not remember vaudeville. Although I did see this cool documentary on Abbott and Costello and their whole vaudeville origins. Pretty hilarious, man. That was the day when you could just invent yourself, right? There were no like corporations. There was no like song and dance, like having to appease a corporate overlord. You just did it, and they did. And the funny thing is, all those jokes, like who's on first, all those Abbott and Costello jokes, those are all vintage jokes of the time. Those things were already kind of cliche by the time Abbott and Costello were doing them. They were just so damn good at it. So they had origins in vaudeville, but they were able to sustain beyond vaudeville. So they took the vaudeville act into film and TV, which is pretty amazing. They were one of the few to actually transcend vaudeville into a career, a viable career after that. So I thought that was pretty amazing. Pretty interesting. Those guys were complete opposites. And the one guy, the tall, skinny guy, that guy actually is kind of the hustler. That wasn't much of a stretch for him. Yeah, that's kind of what he did. But he had a heart of gold, as they say. We have Mighty Joe Young. What's up, brother? What is up? We have Cam 1138. This is going to be a party, you guys. We have Nighthawk Warrior. Did I already say that? Cool artwork. Art. I get it. Robert Romano. Nice. Love these ink streams. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. And I'm hoping if you guys could tweet out, give it a thumbs up. Sometimes these don't do very well. So any help getting eyes on it would be very cool. And I would greatly appreciate that. So I've been working, I'm going to be all over the place, you guys, but I've been working with James Dean Anderson of Comicsgate fame. And I think he did the all caps logo and he did the chicken box logo and stuff like that for EVS and Cyberfrog. And he's doing duty now with Chrono Mechanics. So he and I were putting some designs together for the trading cards, the Chrono trading cards. And they're really, really rough. And I would love to show them to you, but they're really, really rough. But they're coming out freaking awesome. They look so cool. There may be some drug talk. Today. I was able to monetize that stream, though. That's good. So YouTube didn't come down on me. So I guess if you talk about the coronavirus or Donald Trump, they'll demonetize you. But if you talk about drugs, it's okay. He's going to be pushed over the edge, meaning he's probably going to start, medicating himself. What is Robert Romano say, oh, geez, I already clicked that. Holy mother, I'm all discombobulated. I'm going to see, I have a friend that I'm going to invite in, and he's going to help me do some heavy lifting so I can draw. Just sent the link. Just sent the leak. The leak. That's right. That's right. So there may be drug talk, and let me see if I can get my tools ready. And I already got my YouTube stuff. Please like, subscribe. I'm under 300 subscriptions away, subs away from 3,000. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool for me. I know some other guys are like, whatever. But for me, that's really good. For my little humble channel where I do doodles, let's see if I can find the right tool. Ooh, this is a good tool. This is a good tool. So yeah, what I do with these drawings, just to give you a little backstory, is I'll ink it up for you guys. And so, like I said, little soft shoe, little vaudeville here, little show. And then what I'm going to do is, if I get 5 backers on the Chrono Mechanics campaign, we will raffle this off. So once I get 5 backers, then this will be raffled off. I'm hoping to do it tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see how long it takes to get 5 backers. Hopefully it won't take that long. And if you're wondering what I am talking about, let me see if I have these tabs open. Sometimes it gets a little confusing. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I do. So let's go, and I'll give you a little bit of, wait a minute, is this working? This is not. All right, there we go. There we go. So yeah, this is Chrono Mechanics. Let me double check. Yeah, you guys are seeing this. So Chrono Mechanics Retrofit, they do more before the dawn of time than most people do all day. So this is my current campaign. It is in demand. We have 550 backers now. So if we get 555 backers, I will raffle off that Mike Mignola HR Pufnstuf drawing. So this is going really good. 40,663, you guys. So thank you to everybody that has backed. And if you haven't backed, then what the heck are you waiting for, man? This is the greatest book of all time. So this is a sci-fi action adventure comedy. We took it from 48 pages to 60 pages. And that's what it is now. And we did that because of backers. So there's all kinds of fun tiers, you guys. There's all kinds of stretch goals. It's been going for a while. So if you back right now, you will get all the stretch goals that are offered, which are many, many, many stretch goals. So you guys check this out and back the book, and then you will be eligible for the raffle, which we will do once we get 5 more backers. So once we get 5, what would that be? 555. Then we will raffle off this brilliant Mike Mignola HR Pufnstuf drawing, which will be a lot of fun. And it's just a nice little aside, a nice thank you for supporting the book, for supporting the channel. You know, it doesn't take much to, you know, give a little bit back to you guys. Look at these pages, man. I'm also looking at these pages because I know how the lettering looks on them. So I can't wait to show you guys some of the lettering. All these pages are already lettered. So here's the work in progress sketchbook that I am working with James Dean Anderson on as well. And we went from Bob Stone. Bob Stone was having some scheduling problems, so we went with James Dean Anderson. So hopefully we will be able to catch up on the schedule. He's a pretty dedicated guy. So here's some interiors of what the sketchbook pages will look like. And if you guys have already backed, we have an add-on, which is the mystery sketch. So there's no additional shipping. This will be packed right in to your order, and it's only $20. And it's a sketch of developmental art that went into creating chronomechanics and creating this comic book. Yes. So we have superstar talent covers. We have Sean Cheeks Galloway. We have Doug by Tom Bancroft. We have Zen by Aaron Lopresti. And we have Caravaggio by Carlo Barberi. And myself. We have the poster package, which is killer. And that can actually kind of work as an add-on. So you guys can get a book and the poster package too. I'm just thinking if you wanted to still back so you could be like double your odds for the auction, because then you'll have two numbers, I believe. Oh, here's all the stretch goals. So we have 5 trading cards. 4 of them are kind of a set. So there's the Oot, Doug, Zen, and Caravaggio. And they are kind of... they are like the superstar cover collection, I'm calling them. So we got those that you'll get absolutely free if you back now. You will get this trading card. This is more of a commemorative trading card with a slightly different layout from the cover. And then you'll get these badges, aka buttons. Oh, we just ordered the lucky pick. I can't wait to get those back because I'm going to show those things off. They're going to be so cool. So we ordered those, so we should be getting those back soon. So we're starting to place orders. As soon as I get the trading card, layouts, I'm going to send those out for the printer. So we're starting to get things printed, and we're moving forward on that. And the book itself should go out within the next couple weeks to the printer. So then, like I said, we've added 12 new pages, thanks to you guys. A PDF, if you guys back now, you will get a PDF sent directly to your home of a movie script, a Chronomechanics movie script, written by the brilliant Matthew J. Hillary, who's my writing partner on this. So we both jammed out 112 pages. God, it took years to do this, you guys. So if you want to get some reading done while you're in lockdown, this would be a great way to entertain yourself while you're waiting for the Chronomechanics book. So that will go out ASAP, you guys. So if you order a book now, that movie script will be sent to your email now. And so we just unlocked, this is, wait, I'm going too fast here. So we unlocked the Chronomechanics graphic novel Saddle Stitch to square bound. So now it is a square bound graphic novel format. So with your backing, we were able to upgrade the book to a square bound versus saddle stitch, which is very, very cool. I love the graphic novel format. And last but not least, 40K. We are well over 40K, you guys. But the golden time card, 1 out of every 10 backers will get a chance to receive the golden time card. Yeah, it'll be nestled in your package. In your comic book. And if you fill out the time card, send it back to me. I will do a 9x12 head drawing of Doug, the new recruit. So get on that, you guys. Back a book today. Not only will you be getting a good killer 60-page graphic novel story that will entertain the hell out of you, you will also get all those stretch goals. And remember, all the book tiers come with their own trading card as well. Those are the ones that James Dean Anderson and myself are working on doing the layouts for. So, each one of those book tiers comes with a trading card. And if you want to get all 10 trading cards, get the ultimate Chronomechanics tier. That comes with 10 trading cards, the whole set, and a mini print and all the books. The work in progress book, the variant cover collection, you name it, it has it in there. So very, very cool, you guys. So go check out Chronomechanics, please, and back a book, and you will be eligible for this nifty drawing. All right, we got the buns. We got some thunderous buns in the house. What's up, man?
Oh, just doing a little DIY around the house, trying to get the place ready for summer.
You mean putting in like things that'll cool the house, like drapes and air conditioning and things like that?
Well, we got the air conditioning tuned up a couple of weeks ago when the weather started getting really hot here in SoCal, and we've been doing a few other little things here and there. But today, I put up some shade cloth over the kids' background playground. So we're trying to put up some more shade out in the backyard. And
cool.
Yeah, try and keep the sunburns to a minimum.
I hear you. Yeah, I've been kind of getting the chemicals and all the balance in the pool so we could go in the pool. I think it was yesterday or the day before I took a dip in it. It does help, man. Like about 3:00 in California, you're just fed up, right? Like the heat is too much. So about 3-4 o'clock, I take a break from the studio, and then I go down and I just kind of dip in the cement pond, and I cool myself off, and then I'm ready for an evening of drawing. So thank you, Joe, for putting that link in the chat. And if you could keep doing that for the black and white pre-launch page and the Chrono Mechanics Retrofit Indiegogo page. Apparently the links don't work.
Okay, yeah, we'll do.
Thank you, my friend. So yeah, it is that time of year. This is the time of year my wife absolutely hates. She doesn't like the heat. Yeah, so we have Spirit's Car, we have Sky. Sky is cool. Just letting you know. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. We have Cam. He's what's up, Thunder Buns? We got Mighty Joe. CG is killing it. Haven't spent so much on comics since HR or HS in the early 90s.
High school. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
It's gotten to the point where I have to start getting I take little notepads, little post-it notes, and I'll be listening to live streams during the day while I'm doing other stuff, and I just start jotting down campaign names that I've somehow missed because there's so much out there I can't keep track of all of it anymore.
Yeah, but it's good. It's exciting. Yeah,
it's good, man. Having an embarrassment of riches in a way. You know, we went from in 2018 where first there was one campaign that was available, Jawbreakers Lost Souls, and then by the end of 2018 there was, I don't know, maybe half a dozen or so, and now, you know, here we are 2 years later, and it's almost too much to keep track of. So I try and jot them down as I hear them, and then maybe once a week I go in, check them out, back what I can, and then the rest I have to, you know, put on the to-do list, so to speak.
Yeah, there's is it Indiecron that does a pretty good job of putting all the different Comicsgate titles and stuff in?
Yeah, Indiecron, they definitely do. That's run by Pixel Trader. There used to be some other guys that tried to help them out on that, but things got kind of squirrely behind the scenes. And so Pixel essentially said, I'm just going to run this solo like I did in the beginning. And since then, it seems like he's been able to get some things ironed out, which has been great. But the one limitation it has is, and it's a mixed blessing, I guess you could say, because on one hand, he only will post stuff that the creator or the project owner gives permission for him to post.
Yeah.
So that's good, in my opinion. But on the other hand, if there's people who don't want to be posted there, then you're kind of stuck just scrolling through pages and pages on Indiegogo. But, you know, it's certainly better than not having anything at all. And I know that a lot of people like myself have, you know, been saying kind of the same thing, that there's so much to keep track of that sometimes a campaign here and there will fall through the cracks, but it's a whole lot better than having nothing to choose from.
Yeah, especially with this pandemic right now, it seems like the only thing that's actually moving forward and that's healthy is the Comicsgate stuff.
Yeah, I know that there are a few other small press companies that are putting stuff out. Alterna is certainly my favorite when it comes to publishers, but here and there, I know Dynamite is still selling comics. There's a couple of other small press companies that I've been meaning to look into and just haven't gotten a chance to yet, but it's the indies, man. I just don't see anything from the mainstream that's catching my eye, or I don't see anything that they've talked about. Even before all of the Wu Flu stuff, there just was not anything from Marvel, DC, or Image that I caught my interest at all.
Yeah,
And
I've been hearing that a lot.
I grew up as a Marvel kid. You know, I loved the DC, their top characters. Essentially, the Justice League. Anybody that was in the Justice League, I liked them. And but I was a Marvel kid, and I was obsessed with Marvel into my teens. And I had to get out of comics in '94 because I had to go away to school. I had no money, couldn't buy anything, and didn't even start looking around at comics again until around 2005, 2006.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was out of it for a while, and then it was pretty much just looking at a trade here, a trade there. Ironically, the first thing that I bought was a Green Lantern Rebirth trade, and the writing and artwork I thought were fantastic. And so funny that years later, about 13, 14 years later, it would be Ethan Van Sciver would be the first YouTuber that I would stumble across. And it was only through a YouTube recommend because I had been looking up something that was comic related, but not any particular artist. And his channel was very new. This was back in December of 2017. So he'd only been doing it for not quite 2 months, I think. He might have had 7,000 subscribers, if that. So, yeah, it was Green Lantern Rebirth, and then I got hooked on his drawing videos.
I remember watching Zach, your boy, in the early days when he's flushing things down the toilet and burning stuff.
Well, it's funny. I found him on a recommend list while I was binge watching Ethan's drawing videos. And I first kept ignoring it. I was like, diversity in comics. That's if you're going to be bragging about that and putting it on the title of your channel, I doubt I'm interested.
Yeah.
Not knowing that it was done,
ironically.
A little tongue in cheek. But finally, I decided to click on one because I didn't know much about YouTube at all, and I thought, well, maybe if I click on one, it'll stop recommending it. And I watched one.
That's the way it works.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. But ignoring them didn't seem to be getting rid of them either. So I was kind of getting desperate at that point. And so I watched one and immediately watched another one and immediately watched another one. And I've been watching them ever since.
Yeah. It's funny because I was so thoroughly entertained by what he was doing, but I was also I wanted to be part of it so bad, but then I knew that it would just be the death of my career if I showed any kind of interest in it outside of just my, listening to it while I was working in the studio.
Yeah.
If I went to like one of my friends in comics and said, "Hey, have you seen this guy? It's pretty funny. His videos are great." They would have just went, "What?" You know what I mean? Like just a harmless thing, like turning them onto it. It could lead to, just complete and utter devastation for my career. So I didn't. And you know what I did, Joe? I eventually just joined them. Because I'm that crazy.
Yeah, and in the beginning, I mean, back in 2017, I had no idea the rot that was at the center of the mainstream industry. I had no idea how fragile the whole thing was. From about 0506 when I bought that first Green Lantern Rebirth trade through 2017, I would just occasionally buy a trade here, an omnibus there. I bought the Absolute Dark Knight hardcover with a slipcase when I was at San Diego Comic-Con. So I was buying stuff like that, but I wasn't buying individual issues. I had to sell I had to sell all my long boxes, my short boxes, all of my Toy Biz first edition action figures, that whole Marvel line that speculators just went crazy for. I had to sell all of that stuff the first year I was married because we didn't have the room for it, and my parents were moving. I had all that old stuff in my attic, or in their attic, I should say. And my wife and I, we were in a little one-room apartment. We didn't have room for it, couldn't afford a storage unit, so I had to sell all that stuff, and that was a bitter pill to swallow. And I just wasn't sure that I could get back into collecting like I had been, in the 80s and the early 90s. So for me, just collecting trades and hardcovers and omnibuses and putting them on my bookshelf, that was good enough. It kind of scratched the itch. But
yeah, I did the same. It wasn't when I was married, but when I was, living on my own, I remember it was, I would go to the comic shop and then I'd see those comic books up on the wall, the expensive ones. And they were all like the Chris Claremont, John Byrne X-Men stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I own all those books. And they were hundreds of dollars each and, like all that stuff. And so I'm thinking, you know what? I'm having a hard time making ends meet right now. I could go and I could sell these and make, maybe a month or so worth of rent. And so I grabbed all my comics and I brought them in. And for some reason, I kind of brought all of my comics in, my whole collection. And so I brought them in. I think I just wanted to see if maybe, what my collection was worth. And if it was good enough, like the amount that they would offer, then maybe I would sell all of it. So I think that's probably what I was thinking at the time. So I go in. It was Hawaiian Gardens. I remember the guy's name was Bob. He ended up working at Image at some point, but I can't remember his last name. But I bring the comics in, and he's looking at them. He's going through them. He's going to get a lot of good stuff here, so I'm starting to get excited. And then he said, "I'll give you." God, it was nothing. I don't even know if it was $200. And I said, $200? I said, these X-Men books here alone, like this one book right here is worth $200 on your wall. And then he said, like, this is the reality. He goes, you know how many of those I have in the back room right now that I can't sell? He said, it's not worth it for me to, pay that. And also I have to resell it at a profit. So he said, I can't buy it for that. And I said, okay, so $200 for these X-Men books. And then he goes, no, $200 for your entire collection. And I went, what? I mean, I had some of these things since I was a kid in the 60s and stuff. This is my collection. And he's like, no, yeah, $200 for the whole thing. And I was so hard up. I said, how much would you take just for these X-Men? And he said some ridiculously low amount of money. And you know what? I was so desperate, I actually took it. I sold it was the annual, the double size that started the new X-Men. And then it was 1 through 20. Issue 1 through 20 plus the annual I sold for like nothing.
Now, are you talking about new X-Men, not Uncanny X-Men?
Yeah, new X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah, the Claremont stuff with John Byrne.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that started with Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yeah, it started with the giant size. I think that was actually it wasn't Byrne, it was Cockrum, right?
It started with it was Len Wein and Dave Cockrum, and then
Cockrum I think did those early issues too. That wasn't Byrne, so
Cockrum,
but I think it was Claremont that came in early on though.
Claremont came in while Cockrum was still drawing, and then Byrne took over for Cockrum on the illustrations. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So, well, I'm sad to say that I had a friend take my entire collection, all the comics, all the action figures, to San Diego Comic-Con. I think it was in 2000. I think it was 99. I think it was back in 99. The best he could get for the entire thing was $50.
Did you sell?
Yeah. Well, I just told him, I said, look, man, my parents are moving. I don't have any storage for this. I can't afford a storage unit. You're already going to the con. How about you get the best you can for these, whatever it is, and then I'll split half of it with you.
For doing it on top of that? Holy
for doing the work. I said, I'll split it with you.
How many books was it?
I don't even know. It was something like 4 short boxes and 4 long boxes, something like that.
Oh my gosh, those are like sad, eye-opening experiences because you spend most of your young life thinking, oh my gosh, these comics are worth something, and then you go to sell them and you realize, well, not really.
And I thought I was going to get something even somewhere close to the comics buyer's guide pricing or the Overstreet pricing. Right. Oh man, my collection back then, but going by those numbers, would have been worth probably like $30,000.
Exactly. Yeah, I had the Overstreet as well, so I kind of, when I was going to sell my collection, I was, I had a ballpark of what I was going to get based on the Overstreet numbers, and not even a tenth of it. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty disheartening.
Yeah, it was a painful day when he came back and he's like, "Oh, I could only get $50."
You know what? This is what bummed me out, though. I think I went to a local con shortly after that, and I saw this vendor, and this guy was buying some vintage comic from the vendor, and it was like a couple $100, and this guy was buying it for that exact amount of money, and I already knew that. The reality was you could probably get that for next to nothing from a desperate comic book collector like myself. And so then I did realize that the books do have value, but just like anything else, you have to find the right client. You know what I mean? There's people that would be willing to give you less than what the value is, but you just have to keep shopping until you get that, that guy, that collector that understands the value and is willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
But finding that guy is sometimes pretty difficult.
For sure. Well, you got some messages here that have been coming in while we've been talking.
Cool.
And everybody looks like they're enjoying the inking streams you've been doing the past several weeks. So quite a few people are happy that you're doing this one.
Cool.
And there's a $5 super chat from D Geek Art who says, both my comic pulls are from IDW, The Marked and Vox Machina. I stopped with Marvel when they stopped running Silk.
Yeah, I hear you. Actually, D Geek Art at WonderCon, she's an artist as well. You should check out her social media. What was it? I think it was this last year. We didn't do it this year because of the pandemic, but the year before. And she comes up, she goes, Art, have you seen this? And it was some kind of like how to draw Hawkeye or something on a Marvel cover.
Oh no.
And I was like, what? And it was like how to draw, but it was like a cartoon, like a coloring book version of art. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like actual comic book style. It was really, really simplified, and it
Yeah.
was really horribly drawn. And she goes, "This is what's passing for Marvel covers these days." And I was absolutely shocked when she brought that up to me.
Yeah, I can't remember the issue number, but I know exactly which cover you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like it's funny because it. This is the problem, I think, that there's a new generation that they can't really get into things unless they like put a spotlight on, like an ironic spotlight, right? Like they have to be ironic. Like, isn't this kind of silly? You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's not tribute. It feels like mocking. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, oh, look, remember when they used to do this in comics, like how to draw? But they didn't do it on a freaking cover. Like they still realized that you needed to put a good image on the cover to sell it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they weren't doing that crap. And so then they do it, but it almost feels tongue in cheek. It almost feels like they're doing it in an ironic way. Like, wouldn't this be silly if we did this?
Well, D Geek Art for $2 said she bought you a copy.
Oh, then I still have it.
You better still have it, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a Marvel comic, don't you know?
Yeah, it's worth something. Try to sell that thing. Worse off, like when we were at least Joe, when we tried to sell our collection, somebody wanted to buy it. This stuff no one's even going to want to buy.
At least there were guys buying from us who were fleecing us because they knew they could turn around and sell it for a lot more to someone else.
Right. It still had value. That's good luck.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much, D Geek Art, for the super chat. Do appreciate it.
D Geek says they turned him into a girl at the end. She said, "I haven't sent it to you yet. I was going to bring it to the con this year."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would have been there too, D Geek Art. I would have liked to have met you in person. I was going to be at the show this year. I was going to go to Comic-Con Revolution too. I don't know. Art's been saying that they're claiming they're going to put it on in August, but I don't know. I think our dictator, I mean governor, is real happy keeping things shut down for as long as he possibly can. So I don't know what we're going to get out of this summer.
Yeah, he's not happy until all businesses are absolutely wasted.
So we've got some other people who've joined the chat. You might know Zach Bradley, one of our pontificator buddies. You might know someone named Eric Weathers.
I do. Hey, Eric, I just posted your countdown. Are you 2 days? Well, Joe would probably know too. I think he's 2 days out from launching, right?
Tomorrow. Yeah, it should be tomorrow, right, Eric? We'll see if he's still paying attention or if he's tuned us out already.
He's already moved on to another stream to promote it.
Yeah, he said it is tomorrow. Fantastic.
Well, everybody go check that out first thing. And I assume he still has the pre-launch sign-up page active, so you can probably go and sign up.
I'm looking for it as we speak, and I'm also going to get the one for Black and White Second Chance, and we'll post those into the chat.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff behind the scenes that Eric's been posting. Brilliant, really nice looking stuff.
Yeah, I remember when he was talking about that in 2018, and I was one of a handful of people in some of his daytime chats because I'm an at-home dad, and the kids were in school, so I could just check out different live streams during the day, and he was talking about it. I remember chatting with him back then just via YouTube, and sounded really cool. So I'm glad that things have come together and we're going to see that thing in print.
Yeah, he's got some great high concept stuff. And I just have this. This is for you, Eric. I don't know if you get these from the artist, but I always do word balloon placement for the letterer. And I even do basic sound effects and stuff that I throw down. And I actually showed this. There were a couple people. Do I have them still around here? Yeah, like scripts. So let me see if I could find one. So this is how it works, because I showed this the other day. I was just throwing it out there, like just really quick. And people were like, oh, that's how it's done. This is not the same page here, but this will just give you an idea. So when you write the script out, you put a number by each one with the character's name. And so then like this number 1 would then be the number 1 balloon, and so on and so forth. So that's how you keep track of everything, and that's how you write it here. So I think that the letterer, they can copy and paste your text, and then they paste it, they copy it, and then they paste it onto the artwork and then draw a balloon around it. Yeah. So that's kind of how it's done. But I don't know. I mean, I want to ask Eric, if he's still in the chat, does he get placements, or does he do his own placements for most of the Comicsgate books?
Well, while he is typing up his response to you, he did see when you held that page up to the camera. He said, that's great art. More people should do that. So it sounds like, although what you're doing, I have seen other artists do it. I have not seen it frequently. And I'm guessing that it's probably a luxury when a letterer can get, an artist like yourself to do placements for you. But Eric says that he generally does his own placements, but Matt Fowler has done that for him in the past.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't do it because I'm a control freak per se. I do it more just because, one, I need to see it, to see if it all works and how it's going to read visually. And two, like with a lot of the books I do, the balloon placement, the fonts and everything are kind of part of the IP. They're part of the style of the book. So was it John Higgins? Who was the guy that did all the lettering for Walter Simonson? No, it was John Workman.
Sounds familiar.
John Workman stuff. And it was so stylized and so synonymous with Walter Simonson's work. It became, you know what I mean? It became stylized. So
yeah, it's like Orzechowski with John Byrne.
Yeah. So you can actually define a style by the lettering and placement and things as well. So with Chronomechanics, there's a lot of just fun stuff that we do with the layout and the placement of everything. So it's a lot of fun. I actually enjoy doing it. Like all the layout placements and stuff.
Well, I found the first black and white campaign, but I'm having a hard time finding
Here, I don't have it. I thought I had one open, a tab open. Let me see if I can find it for you.
Try this. No, it keeps giving me the first campaign and your black and... Oh, there we go. Got it.
I just posted it too.
Okay. Great. Hey, another one of our pontificator pinheads is here. Todd Mulrooney, otherwise known as Ignition, get tuned in. He says, all next week, Art will be inking my doodles.
Todd's got Florida Man launching soon as well.
Florida Man. If I remember correctly, that's on target for the end of the month. Todd, is it May 25th? Did I remember that correctly? In the meantime, I'll post the black and white second chance link for the chat.
I'll show off the trading card too. I think I have that saved somewhere.
Okay, Todd said yes. So if you guys have been checking out the Florida Man promo art on Twitter and you are interested, as I am, May 25th looks like their launch date. And if you don't know what Florida Man is all about, the real quick synopsis is that Mike Barron, longtime comic book writer and novelist who wrote such titles as Badger and Nexus, some little Marvel character you might have heard of called the Punisher.
Nexus in the Day was my jam. I loved that book.
Yeah, I'm trying to get. Oh, good. Todd put a link there to the page for Florida Man. Cool. Yeah, Nexus is one of those that I was vaguely aware of back in the 90s, but I never got into. And in the last couple of years, I have heard so many great things about Nexus and Badger, and I've looked into some of Steve Root's art from back then, and I've decided that I really need to try and find some collections at good prices because there's so much material. I'll break the bank if I try and get it all at once.
I think in the day when Rob was trying to get a cartoon show going for Youngblood, that Steve Rude did like an intro, like animated video for him. So I think somewhere there's like Steve Rude video, like a Youngblood opening credit crawl.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I have an animated cell from that. Rob gave me a cell from that. It's pretty cool.
Cam 1138 said one of the first comics he ever saw in a shop was Badger.
Yeah, Badger's like, I think he's Wolverine, but he's insane, isn't he? He's like crazy. I don't think it's just a berserker rage. I think that character is nuts, right?
I don't know much about him. I've heard a lot of good things, but I really need to. I've already decided I'm going to get into both of those titles, but I'm kind of staying away from figuring out or learning too much more about him because I want to learn just by reading through it.
Yeah.
Chaotic Neutral Comics. Yes, art is inking Mignola. Mignola did a pencil sketch of HR Pufnstuf, and he's done some other characters from back in the 60s, and so Art has been doing some Twitter polls and asking people if they'd be interested in him inking them up, and people have been voting on what to choose. So he's done Scarecrow from Romney Marsh, he's done Gigantor, and now he's doing HR Pufnstuf.
And we but we raffle these off as well. So if I can get 5 backers for Chrono Mechanics, I will raffle this drawing off for some lucky backer. So that'll be fun.
You got another question came in. Let me scroll back through the chat. Oh, Blue Samurai Zero, it was a comment for you. He said, looks good, Art. Just needed some background chatter while I work. Your streams are perfect.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to do this slightly different. There's going to be a little bit of dry brushing involved. I try to do each one of these a little bit different. And actually, I'm going to take just a moment. My brush is getting dried out anyway with this heat. But I'm going to show you the Gigantor image, and then I can show you Zach Bradley's black and white card as well.
Sweet.
Screen share. Do. This is it, man. So if you guys want a free, this is what they end up looking like when they're done. So if you guys want an absolutely free Art Thibert Mike Mignola work of art, back a book. Can you see this? The artwork there, Joe?
Yeah, I can see it. It looks good.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I did this on a live stream, just like I'm doing the HR Pufnstuf one. So yeah, if I can get 5 backers on the Chrono Mechanics campaign, then I'll raffle off this HR Pufnstuf. And so here is the Zach Bradley card. Look at this thing. Sweet. So this is the free giveaway for the pre-launch page. So if you go sign up for the mailing list, you will get, with the backing, this card absolutely free. And at the end of the month, this campaign is going live. So we're running out of time. So if you want to get this trading card, go there, sign up, absolutely free. Won't cost you a dime. So go check it out and sign up. Look at this thing, man. This thing's fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. And Zach just dropped that on you with no advance warning, right?
Didn't he drop it in a live pontificator stream?
I think so. I think he said, "Hey, Art, you want to see what I've been working on?" You said, "Yeah," and then he showed this.
Yeah, it was
great.
I was totally dumbfounded live on the air. It came out so good, man, and he's such a generous person. He said, "Yeah, just use it for the trading card." And look at these faces. Look at White. That face is beautiful.
And I really like what he did with those backgrounds, where he took the weapon of Reed Blackett, you know, that muzzle flash, and then he created an entire background theme off of just that one little bit of illustration, and then he took White's staff and did the same thing. And the way that he took those color choices and then expanded them into backgrounds, I really like stuff like that.
Yeah, I like all the layers, the painting over the painting, you know, so some of it's transparent, some of it's not.
Yeah.
It's just really nicely done. I'm a big fan of like well done concept looking art. Like this is well done. Yeah. And I also like where, you know, he really went in tight on some of the stuff and then loosed in other places. And I like that as well. Like the faces are incredibly tight. Some of the hair, some of the hands, some of the, you know, like the gun, some of it's incredibly tight. And then the other parts are loose where it doesn't really matter. Like the backgrounds are just like, well, it's something burning. It's, you know, the night sky. It doesn't really matter. Just kind of abstract stuff. So I really, really like it. So then I went in and just kind of jived it up a little bit with the 25th anniversary logo and the main logo with a little bit of pinstriping around it. I think this is a brilliant looking trading card, and it's all because of Zach. So thank you so much, Zach. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a generous gift that he gave you. It was very cool when he dropped that on you, and we all got to watch you and listen to you freak out a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. Well, you know what? The thing is, like with this Comicsgate movement and the community, there is a level of generosity that I have not seen in the comics industry since I started. When I first started, you know, there wasn't a lot of money in it, so there was a community. There were people helping each other out. Even, my gosh, this will dumbfound you. Even journals, even like magazines and stuff. Like you didn't have to be, you know, the most popular guy to actually talk to some of these fanzines or these magazines. You know, they would do articles on you. So you could hang out with them at a con, get to know them, and then they'll just say, "Hey, would you like me to do an article?" It's like, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. There's I remember reading. I mean, I was still a little too young in the '80s to really be plugged into the industry in terms of how things were behind the scenes. But I remember in the '90s reading interviews and stories about stuff like that, and kind of getting an understanding of some of at least what was going on. And I gotta agree. I mean, when I started looking into the industry, the mainstream industry at the beginning of 2018, and seeing what a wreck it was, and then looking at the indies and kind of contrasting the two, it's just night and day. And I have to say that the fun, the energy, the excitement, the optimism, and the virtually endless creativity that I'm seeing in the indies and Comicsgate, um, certainly being part of. I look at the industry as more or less all of comics, and then I think of it as segments of mainstream and independent. And then within the independent side, I think of it as various different segments that are subdivided still. And so, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the indies, and certainly a lot of good stuff happening in and around Comicsgate, and just all of this positive energy, and the products that we're seeing produced all over the indie scene is really reminds me of what it was like being a comic collector and a reader in the '80s and early '90s, when you could walk into a shop and just have fun being there, even if you didn't buy anything.
Oh, I know, right? Just kind of like window shopping and looking at what's coming out. And have you ever done this? Okay, you go in, you buy all your comics like one day,
Hmm.
and so then you kind of read them, but then you're just like, I need more. But you know you've ransacked that store the day before, right? But you still find yourself going the next day, and you kind of force yourself to take a chance on something that, you know what I mean, that you might not have done just because you really want to keep reading something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Cadillacs and Dinosaurs or whatever, that was it for me. Like, I went back and I was like, okay, I got everything I wanted, but maybe I'll take a chance on this because it looks interesting. You know, there's Cadillacs and there's actually dinosaurs on the cover. So stuff like that. I remember even all my Dread stuff I bought that way, because I just went in and I had bought all my stuff the day before, but I still wanted to read a comic book. So
Yeah.
2000 AD stuff, and I remember just, you know, taking a chance on it and buying it and just absolutely loving it.
Kingdom Comics was saying that Jimmy Reyes has been doing on his channel, which I recommend. I'm a subscriber, and he's a guy. He actually I don't know if you remember, but he's the inker that Comic Book Bob streams with, and Jimmy works with Dave Finch, and it was on Jimmy's channel that Bob had invited people to come by and chat with Jimmy and Dave, and then Jimmy opened it up and had people join the chat and just, you know, talk with Jimmy, talk with Bob, talk with Dave, ask Dave questions. And so Kingdom Comics was there, and he says here in the chat, it was an honor to have Dave Finch like his art.
Yeah,
And
actually, Bob behind the scenes invited me, but I was out with the family, so I didn't get that till later in the day. But I did catch it. It was pretty good.
yeah, and Jimmy is another one of those guys where I don't know if he considers himself Comicsgate per se. I heard him on a stream where he said something to the effect of, "Hey, thanks, you guys have been so kind to me, and I feel very welcome here, and I really appreciate it," and so on and so forth. And I don't remember if it was Ethan's channel or a different channel, or maybe it was chat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was Jimmy Reyes on the last auction stream that Ethan did?
Yeah, it was the auction stream.
Okay. I thought that's where he was talking about Comicsgate in general. So yeah, oh yeah, a couple people in the chat are also confirming it. Thanks, you guys. So yeah, cool guy, good inker, been around for a while, and he's one of those channels where I just kind of happened across it, and started checking him out, and I really enjoy the kind of two-way trust that is being established when I see an indie creator and customers and potential customers, where he opens up his platform to anyone who wants to come in, and they come in and are respectful. They're a guest in someone else's house, and so they try to have some good behavior and not abuse the privilege, so to speak. And it's just been cool to see Jimmy's one, and there's howtotrogcomics.net. Are you familiar with those guys, Art, Clayton, and his brother? Okay, there's some Aussie guys who have recently discovered Comicsgate not too long ago, and have been getting to know everyone. And again, there's more independent people who are just very open with their platform and really helpful. And in return, the Comicsgate customers and artists and writers and letters and you name it, people making comics and people buying comics, they're all been just very welcoming and friendly, and I love seeing that. It obviously happens within the YouTube channels of people who are out and out Comicsgate. That happens all the time, and those of us who've been around it, it's no surprise. But I also really like seeing when somebody who is kind of on the periphery and checking us out, and then they come in and say, wow, people really say horrible things about you guys, but I haven't seen any of that stuff be true.
That's the best.
And
well, let's do something else cool for a minute. Let's take a break, and let's share something. All right. You should be seeing the chrono page, so let's update it. Let's see what we got, or if we got. Holy crap! We got 3 backers.
Right.
We're 2 backers away from getting this piece of artwork into people's hands. So thank you so very much. And actually, we're just a stone's throw away from another 1,000. So thank you guys so much. You're the best. Chrono is going long, going strong. Yes. Thanks to everyone. Wow, you guys just made my day. 2 more backers, Joe.
That is fantastic.
We could possibly auction this thing off today. Well, not auction, but raffle. Wouldn't that be cool if we could raffle it the same day? So all we need is 2 more backers.
Yeah, that'd be great. And for anyone in the chat who hasn't been around for one of these raffles before, I am a backer, but I disqualify myself. there was some joking going around in the first raffle when I wasn't streaming with Art, but I was able to listen to the stream, and someone's like, "Thunderbunch better not get that piece."
It happened. It has happened in the past.
Yeah, Art and his brother almost got mobbed when he was doing a raffle. Were you with Image at the time, Art?
No, it was cable. It was cable number 1, I think, or it was extra 12 and 13. I can't remember. I did them so close together.
Anyway, they did a raffle, and Art's brother won just by sheer chance. There were no shenanigans going on, and didn't your brother shout really loud, "Hey, I won!" So you couldn't even redo it on the sly,
right? And it was live on K-Rock, like it was being televised. So the whole thing happened
man.
live on the radio.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to draw another name, sadly. It was for Guns and Metallica tickets. So I know there's a lot of youngsters out there that are like, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, who?
Oh, back then they were the biggest bands on the planet.
Yeah, and they were touring together, which was pretty amazing.
I guess Guns was kind of on the way down when Cable One came out, but they were still very popular.
Guns and I think they were the headlining act.
Oh, really?
It was Guns and Metallica.
Oh, you know what? I'm misremembering when Cable. Yeah, now I got it now. I was thinking of the wrong miniseries.
Yeah, it was the one I did with Fabian.
Mm-hmm.
Fabian Nicieza. I'm gonna have to work on fades.
So for those who have just joined the stream and might be trying to click on the link to the Black and White Second Chance campaign, apparently there's a little trouble with the link. So periodically I'm posting a good link to the campaign, which I'm about to drop in right now. And if you use that link, it should work.
Yeah, thanks. It's weird. Yep. Sometimes I'll just copy and paste from a previous live stream, and sometimes the links will work, and sometimes they don't. So I just didn't have time this morning when I put this together to, copy and paste all the links again and post them in individually. So that was my fault. I got lazy.
Mighty Joe Young says that on that tour that Guns and Metallica took turns headlining.
Oh, okay. But Guns, it was still called Guns and Metallica, I think, the whole tour.
Yeah. Maybe they just took turns, like quote unquote opening for each other on alternate nights.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I have my my backstage pass here somewhere.
Right on, dude.
Metal.
Mark Gillum for $5 says Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Xenozoic Tales is awesome. I've had the opportunity to meet Mark Schultz a few times, and he's a total pro. Nice guy.
Yeah, it was a great book. I loved it. Oh, man, I can't find it. Can't find it. Oh, there it is. Oh, you know what? It doesn't even say it on this. This is because I just got backstage to Metallica. I didn't get backstage to Guns N' Roses. They both had different sections. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was Guns and Metallica or Metallica and Guns's. But I for some reason I'm remembering Guns and Metallica. Metallica Guns's. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, Kingdom Comics was saying that Metallica was great when he saw them live, and Mark Gillum said that on the Quebec City stop that he thought Metallica was headlining. So there's a few people that's got to see them live back in the day. Mighty Joe Young says Guns was listed first because of Axl's ego.
Probably.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I heard those guys were fighting constantly on that tour. Yeah, I think all those those Guns N' Roses guys were a little out of control because I heard that Slash could be the nicest guy unless he was drinking. But what are the odds that he wasn't drinking, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so he's probably a prick most of the time.
Mighty Joe Young says they hate each other now.
I think they hated each other from at that time too, if I'm remembering it properly.
It could be. And Blue Samurai Zero said that you might be starting a trend, Art. He said last night James Dean Anderson raffled off a portrait drawn on stream to backers of Lucent who were present in Mike Bancroft's stream. I'm not sure if you've seen that campaign yet, the Lucent.
No.
Oh, is another Aussie, part of the Aussie Brigade down under. He's got a comic. It looks really cool. I'm planning on backing it. It's called The Lucent. And it's, if I remember the pitch correctly, it's essentially a comic where the protagonist has some experience with lucid dreaming, and as you go through the comic, you experience both reality and the dream state. And he's writing it, drawing it, lettering it. He's a one-man show, much like Zach Bradley, and it looks pretty cool.
So Zach letters his own books too?
I thought so, unless I'm mistaken.
I don't know. I'm just asking. Yeah.
Yeah. If he can correct us or correct me, I should say, if he's in the chat, if that's not correct. But I was under the impression he was a one-man show.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I do everything except that. But you saw I did like the letter placements and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lettering is one of those things that I thought I was going to get into, and then I decided to be in it because I wanted to be able to do a couple of different things. I already write and edit, but I was thinking it would be cool to get into lettering as well. And then some things changed, and I decided to become a publisher. So I kind of had to put lettering on the back burner. But it's one of those things that I want to get into at some point, because I know how it's done and I know what makes good lettering and bad lettering, but I'd really like to get my hands on it myself. And
well, what people might not know, your claim to fame is you work as an editor. So you worked on Flying Fortress, right? You edited that book?
Yeah, I'm the editor on Eric Weathers' Flying Fortress Remastered. I've got many years experience writing and editing outside of the comic book industry. And then Flying Fortress was my first credited work in comics. I did some editorial consulting that's uncredited that I really never talk about just because it's not credited. So there's not a whole lot of point to it. But yeah, there was a time where I was offering to help you. We were talking earlier about the creative energy and the generosity and people wanting to help each other out within Comicsgate specifically, and then also a lot of other areas on the indie scene. And there was a while when I was wanting to meet people and make networking connections where I was offering to do free proofreading. And I was willing to give very steep discounts on editing to independent creators. And so I did some of that behind the scenes, free of charge. And then when it came to Flying Fortress, I had been talking with Eric when he was doing live streamings. I was just chatting with him, via the chat window. And one day I just told him, I said, hey, I'm a writer and editor, and I'm a backer of Flying Fortress, and I really like this story. Because he had said something about looking for an editor or wanting to get some editing feedback or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he said something that really got my attention. And so I just offered to help him out, and things went really well. And he was so happy with my work that we essentially came to an arrangement. And let's just say he got a whole lot of editing work out of me, because in the beginning I really didn't think about how many hours were going to go into editing a project that big. I don't know if there was even a page count discussed at that point. If there was, I missed it. It would have been my own fault. But yeah, that was a very large project, 228-page graphic novel, had a
Are
bald.
Are you working on the new one?
No, Eric went from Flying Fortress Remastered to Battle Brick Road, and he already had an editor lined up before Eric and I met.
Okay.
So things went so well on Flying Fortress that I told him that if he needed an editor for Battle Brick Road, I'd be more than happy to work with him again. But he already had somebody at the time. And then so we finished up Flying Fortress, and I went back to work exclusively on my own stuff, and he got started with, or continue. I shouldn't say started with, because he had been working with his writer Zeb Hatfield on Battle Brick Road pretty consistently.
Did Eric write Battle Brick Road alone? I mean, Flying Fortress alone, or did he have a partner?
No, he co-wrote it with Andy Moore,
Okay.
I believe, is his co-creator on the book. There were two Andys that he originally conceived the idea with, and I cannot remember the other Andy's last name at the moment, but essentially what it boils down to is that one of them had to drop out due to other commitments, and so it was Eric and one other collaborator who did the bulk of the writing. They did all of the artwork. Eric did all the lettering, and they published 8 individual issues plus an ash can between 2011 and 2017. And then when Eric did Flying Fortress Remastered, he collected all of those into an 8-chapter graphic novel with the ash can in the back.
Man, I had Eric on my show early on with that Flying Fortress stuff. It was so funny, because he was talking about, he and his partner did these books, and they would take them to conventions, and he would just kind of keep adding chapters to it, keep building on the mythology, and then over time, they had all these stories and these concepts ironed out, and so that's what gave birth to the remastered Flying Fortress. But I thought that's true indie spirit right there. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
like that's making money the hard way. Trust me. I mean, I've done Kickstarter, I've done Indiegogo, I've done Image Comics. The hardest way to sell comic books is at a comic book convention. I'm not even kidding. It's really hard. Like art books do well. Like you can have drawing books and stuff like that. But actual, like, comics, like news stories and stuff like that, those are really hard. At least they were for me. And I have asked other people, and they said the same thing. And as far as, trying to sell those at shows, the other problem is that they're heavy, right? So you have to bring so many of them to the show. So it's not like, like art pages are heavy and stuff like that, but an art page will sell for, at the very least, like $100. But like you have a comic book that could weigh more than a page of artwork and make maybe $10 or $20 off of it. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to travel and justify traveling with that stuff. So I kind of got jaded after a while, and I stopped traveling with my own stories. I would just bring artwork and prints because they always sold, and I did pretty well. But the poor comic books, they, so I could totally feel Eric's pain. Like, and that guy was, he was fighting the good fight every convention, going out there and getting his wares in front of people, and maybe winning one person over at a time, where this YouTube platform and the stuff that we're doing with Comicsgate is so much more effective. And it's time consuming, but it's not as time consuming as flying to another state, and carrying all your stuff with you. It gets daunting.
Yeah, it definitely, one of the reasons why I offered to help Eric on the remastered graphic novel is that, besides really liking the story and backing it myself, I really liked that he and his collaborator Andy, they wanted to make a comic really bad, but they didn't know how, so they just did it and learned how. And I really respected the initiative and the perseverance that it took to not only do it once, but 8 times, because these guys, they had no capital whatsoever. They were doing the work themselves. They all had day jobs. Eric had a wife, and I believe his oldest was born either right before or right after he started working on the first issue. If I remember correctly, his collaborator also has kids. So these guys were burning the candle at both ends, just doing it for the love of comics. And
I've done that too. Like, even when I was working at Marvel and DC, I would put my 9 hours in, and then I'd eat dinner with my family, and then I'd put the lap board on, and I'd sit in front of the TV and work till I couldn't work any longer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the thing that you have to do. And one of the great parts of this, Comicsgate thing is it's allowing us to kind of simplify things a little bit. I know some people do have day jobs and things like that, but it's kind of a one-stop shop for creators. Like, we can put all of our energy in one direction, versus doing all these shows and like basically scattershot kind of way of doing business. And it's so much more effective. I am so thankful that it's happened, and that it is continuing to grow and prosper.
Yeah, I am too. The experience with editing Flying Fortress was kind of my dipping my toe in, to the indie scene, as far as making a book, or collaborating with someone who's making a book. All the art is still Eric's. The art corrections he did, it's all him. He relettered the entire book from scratch. I helped him. I certainly did the editing. I was happy to help him rewrite some stuff that, frankly, were written by guys who didn't know how to write. They were amateurs. They, like I said, that's one of the things I loved about the whole thing, is that these guys, they wanted to do it, so they did it. They didn't wait around for someone else to hold their hands. They just did it. And one of the things that I like is that project gave people a chance to see that if you stick with something long enough, you'll improve. And chapter 1 looks one way, and chapter 8 looks 8 times better than chapter 1.
Yeah, you get to follow the progress.
Exactly. You get to follow the growth of the artist. So one of the things I told him in our first meeting is, I said, look, man, I'm really happy to try and help you tell the best version of your story. I'm not going to try to take anything over. I'm not going to try to, rewrite stuff the way that I would write it if I was doing the story. No, none of that. I'll help you tell the best version of your story. And so it was a really great experience. I really enjoyed it, and it really kind of proved to me that this was the place I wanted to be, not only in buying books, but this is where I want to be making them too. I don't want to be trying to work with any of the big companies. I want to be doing it on my own and interacting with readers and customers and other creators, where we're all more or less swimming in the same pool, and it's not like the quote unquote bigwigs are over at the deep end of the pool, and they're insisting that the unwashed masses stay at the shallow end.
Yeah, that's just not the case, because also the thing about Comicsgate is that there has to be the new growth. There has to be new people coming in. So if it's going to have longevity, there has to be people like me or Ethan that are sharing their channels with other creatives, because that's where the growth is going to be. So like people like you and Zach and things like that, putting the spotlight on them and letting this platform, if in any way can help them, then that's great. And also by being on a lot of these platforms and having the more established people, going on their shows, they're giving you kind of the seal of approval as well. So it's kind of like it's an endorsement, and that's pretty amazing. I don't know of any place that's ever existed like that.
I don't either. I have had an absolute blast working with Eric Weathers, had an absolute blast streaming with you, whether we're doing some fun stuff in the daytime, like now where you're working on a piece and people get to see the process up close and personal, whether we're kind of goofing around talking about random stuff, or if it's the Friday night Pontificator show, which if you haven't caught it in the chat, it's a lot of fun. It's every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern, where Art, myself, Zach Bradley, Todd Mulrooney, Chester Busby, Comic Book Bob, you get a panel of us, and we have a few topics on the table. It's very interactive with the chat, and we kind of look at what's going on, at the state of things, and then we pontificate about what might be contributing to that, or what might be causing it, where things might go from there. It's a lot of fun. We've done everything from the early days of the pandemic, what was happening there, to retailers, to publishers. Anything you can think of in the comic book industry, I think we've probably covered it in the last 6 weeks or so.
It is a lot of fun. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was just going to say it, and kind of tangentially related to the comic book industry. The bigger companies like Disney and AT&T, these parent companies of big publishers like Marvel and DC. We have looked at what they're up to, what their finances are like, why there might be some decisions that seem crazy to someone if you're just looking at that particular situation. But if you kind of peel back the curtain and see what's going on behind the scenes, then we're able to better understand what's happening with comic book publishers like Marvel and DC. And then in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten more into looking into what Diamond has been all about, and what their announcements have been, and what we think it means for the mainstream industry, the independent industry, so on and so forth. So we cover a lot of topics. We have a lot of fun doing it, and we really enjoy all of the interaction with the chat that we get every Friday night.
I got a new one, man. Have you heard the Kathleen Kennedy? It's finally out. that she's the one that made the decision for Galaxy's Edge to do the new Disney, because apparently they were actually going to do the old school Star Wars stuff. It was going to be Tatooine, all of that stuff, and I guess the one in Florida they were going to connect right to that Star Tours, because I guess you could, the way the back lot of that Disney Hollywood or whatever it's called, they could connect them out, connect them up and everything, and then so it'd be a continuation of what they already have that would go right into this new park. And Kathleen Kennedy, it sounds like, they usually say like guys have inflated egos. Man, you talk about an inflated ego, and she was saying, yeah, but really, shouldn't we make this about Disney Star Wars versus Star Wars? This is so horrible, because this is the guy that George Lucas trusted. This is the person George Lucas trusted with his fucking baby. You know what I mean? Like, this is his whole life. And so, I guess she was able to convince Disney and the Imagineers to shift over and to do it more as like the new trilogy stuff. And that's what they did. And, smash cut a few years later, nobody's digging it, Nobody likes the movies or the toys or any of that stuff. Like, it was a complete, like, cross the board, like, flop. You know what I mean? Like, the toys didn't sell, the movies didn't sell, the amusement park didn't do well. Like, you talk about one decision that just destroyed everything. It's pretty crazy. So have you heard anything about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I had hoped we would, there was two articles in particular that I hoped we would cover on Pontificators, and I think that was the week of the auction, so we didn't do our show. But absolutely. I'm trying to remember the guy who was in charge of the Imagineers, who what was his name?
That's the guy that's coming out right now and saying that it was true, right? Yeah.
And then his name escapes me at the moment, but basically the Imagineers had already put together plans for a Star Wars land that was based on the original trilogy, and it's quite a bit of development work, or pre-production work, if we're going to use film terms, had already gone into it. And then at one of the bigwig meetings, Kathleen Kennedy stood up and essentially said that, well, why are we making theme park for 55-year-olds?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what it was.
When we can't get the younger kids interested, which was a lie, why don't we make Star Wars Land for the young kids who are going to be the next 3-4 generations of Star Wars fan? And she was, on and on. So, and I think, if I remember correctly, she got some pushback, and I think that's when she went straight to Bob Iger. And then he's the one who said, okay, it's going to be the new trilogy, because Force Awakens had a great opening box office weekend.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that thing did have some promise. There were some problems with it I saw early on, but it did have some promise.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I was disappointed that it rehashed so many things. But I thought, and I remember saying to my wife when we walked out of the theater, if somebody had never seen a Star Wars film before, I could see them watching this film and thinking it was great.
Yeah.
And that was the way I saw it. And then I thought, okay, so they obviously wanted to rehash a bunch of stuff and kind of remind people how great Star Wars used to be. hopefully with this next film, episode 8, hopefully they'll really go into new territory.
Yeah,
Boy, be careful what you ask for.
yeah. Oh, they did. They went into different
Oh,
territory. But yeah, for me, I was kind of like that. It almost felt like from a creative standpoint, the exercise was like, let's get the Star Wars tone right. You know what I mean? Like that J.J. Abrams, The Force Awakens. It felt like it was more of a creative exercise. Like, let's make sure we get the tone right, and then we can kind of build off that. Because for me, even though Lucas was involved with the Phantom Menace stuff, that it didn't feel Star Wars to me. Like the tone didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. But then the J.J. Abrams Force Awakens, like just as far as the tone, it felt like, yeah, this is a Star Wars movie. And then they just kind of didn't follow through with it. So I was kind of on board, even though, I really hated the Death Star stuff. It's like, really, this is very unimaginative. But I was willing to look the other way, thinking kind of like you. They got the tone right. It feels like a Star Wars movie. I kind of like these new characters. They have potential. Let's see where it goes. Like if the next movie goes into like new ground, they start trying to do something different with it, then it'll be a success. And yeah, it fell apart pretty quickly after that. But yeah, I thought it had some potential. They got the tone right, which I thought the Lucas stuff, it didn't feel fun. It didn't really it didn't, to be honest, it didn't feel like Star Wars to me. It just felt like I was watching some other George Lucas type of adventures.
yeah. Madness Productions says that current rumors have KK and Jon Favreau fighting over the brand right now, since the Mandalorian has been so successful.
Right.
And it obviously was most heavily inspired by the original trilogy. And then they also worked in a few little references here and there to the prequel trilogy, mostly with background characters. And, like in a couple of the episodes, are these little pit droids that first showed up in episode 1. And they're also there.
The thing is, like from a creative standpoint, Joe, this. Like this stuff is not hard to do. Like they make it seem so hard.
Yeah.
Kennedy makes it seem like so hard. Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. Like this is the way. It's not any of those things. It's just write a good Star Wars film. Like that's all. There's plenty of people that love this mythology and understand it that could do a great job. Hire those people, give them power, and get out of the way. Like it's not even Mission Possible. It only becomes a problem when you have an egomaniac, that wants to create some kind of agenda, with the storytelling. And that's where you get into these problems.
Yeah, it's definitely, as you said, it's not rocket science telling stories. There is definitely a skill to it. There is definitely an art to it, but it is not nearly as difficult as Kathleen Kennedy has proclaimed it to be when she gets asked in interviews, why things are such a trash fire. And she talks about how difficult it is to do any film, which is true. Film production is difficult, but the production part of those films have been great. The blue collar workers on those films have absolutely done their jobs very well. The visual aesthetic, it comes through. The special effects, top notch. The cinematography, for the most part, great. It's just her agenda-driven politics fueling a convoluted mess of a story that had no consistency planned when she hired the writers and directors. So it ended up being a giant mess, like you said.
I think she's clueless, but she's clueless in the sense that all of her priorities are in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't care about, the fandom. She doesn't care about the IP. Like, what is that new person that's been hired in that was associated with that that guy that was molesting those women?
Leslie Headland.
Yeah, Weinstein. And so, you listen to her interview and you realize it almost is cult like, where she's like, I'm not a fan of this Star Wars or that Star Wars. I'm just a fan of Star Wars.
Yeah.
What the hell does that even mean? Like, I'm just a fan of Star Wars. That, you know what that means? That the translation is, we don't give a shit about anything that came before. We don't give a shit about anybody who cares about this. We don't care about any of that stuff. All we care about is telling our Star Wars stories, which is going to be agenda injected. The Force is female. It's so freaking obvious. The thing is, Kathleen Kennedy isn't even clever with the agenda. None of these fools are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so blatant and obvious. She's not even that clever. And the cool thing about it is the wheels came off really fast. Like, people saw through the shit so damn fast. And the only reason, and this is what Iger's going to have to write another book, because this is going to come back and bite him in the ass. He really should have fired her. He should have fired her. If that was anybody else, they would have lost their job. All those other women, the one woman that oversaw the Galaxy's Edge, she got fired. There were other females that got fired, but they weren't as high profile as Kathleen Kennedy. So you fire Kathleen Kennedy, bad publicity, right? Disney hates women, all of this stuff is going to come out. So she's definitely in a place that she can blackmail Iger and the Disney Corporation. And you know what? She sure as hell is taking advantage of it, man. If you guys haven't heard these stories, we'll probably get into them more on the Pontificators. But man, you talk about a horrible blackmail situation. The shit she's doing to Iger and Disney right now is criminal. Like, it is against the law to blackmail people, and she sure as hell is doing that. Let me get back on track. I'm going to go and update the chrono.
Okay, I just posted the link again in the chat.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. We're at 40,879. Okay, so I think it did just update. So we just did update. Let me see, though. Let me see. Because I don't think the backer number changed. I think the total went up. Because we were at 847, I thought, last time we checked. So now we're 879, but the backers didn't change. So I think it should be 54. Huh. That's interesting. So yeah, technically, I've been keeping track of it, you guys, but technically speaking, we're one backer away from raffling this thing off. If you guys want to see the raffle today, back another book. If we can get one more backer, we will raffle this HR Pufnstuf image off right now. And we'll make Joe's day, because Joe loves this stuff.
I do. That's what I live for.
Look at how giddy he is right now. It's what I live for. All right. Well, you know what? Before I get into the heavy, I was going to do I got my thicker brush out, so I was going to do some wash back here. But I think I should do the signatures and the detail work first, because it's harder to do it the other way around. So if you guys don't know, Mike Mignola has been doing these great like pop culture drawings, and he's posting them on his social media. And so I just got inspired by these things and started posting them around. And then they were asking me like, why don't you ink them up? Why don't you do some ink work on them? And I got some DMs, and I think even somebody on Twitter mentioned it. So that's what gave me the idea to do this. So that's where we're at.
And for anybody who doesn't know what HR Pufnstuf is about, it was a kids TV series produced by Sid and Marty Krofft in the United States. And those guys did a whole lot of kids programming, whether it was cartoons or puppetry, which is what Pufnstuf was about. And it ran in it was
67, was it?
Yeah, 69.
Oh, 69, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't on for very
dude.
Yeah. It wasn't on for very long.
Because parents were probably like, this is all about drugs.
Yeah, well, I guess it lasted 3 they kept it on. It says they had 17 episodes, and NBC kept it on their Saturday morning schedule until 1972.
So it lasted quite long for a kid's show. That's pretty long.
And then reruns of the show, it says, lasted from 72 to 73. And in some markets from 73 to 74.
There was a movie too, I think.
Yeah, there was a movie called Pufnstuf in 1970 that had pretty crazy cast list. Martha Ray played Boss Witch. Cass Elliot from the Mamas and the Papas played Witch Hazel. Billy Barty, he's a little person who was in all kinds of movies and TV. He played a couple of parts. Jack Wilde played Jimmy. I'm not sure if Jack Wilde ever did anything else.
I think he was a stage actor or something like that before.
But yeah.
And then, of course, there's Freddie Flute.
Hey, Freddie Flute.
Don't stick me in your anus, Jimmy.
That's not proper flute etiquette.
That's how he sounded, like just a whistle. Yeah, this actually had a body on it. I had this since I was a little kid. This was like a giveaway, or like you get the box tops off of your cereal, and then you send 50 cents or something like that, and you can get free stuff. So that's what this was. So I had this probably since I was 6 or 7 years old, and it had like a working mouth. So that's why these things here are. And then it had a body and it had little holes in it. So I guess you could play a song if you were good enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was never good enough. So there's my Freddie Flute. I don't know why it sustained and lasted all these years. When my parents passed away, I guess parents have these little junk boxes of stuff that their kids had and they saved.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in one of those boxes. So I think it's funny how, parents save things. So it must have been fairly important to me as a kid.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy how many times this show got repackaged over and over. I thought it was just the 60s and 70s, but man, after, was it 73 to 74, it then was syndicated from 74 to 78, and then it was repackaged with 6 other Krofft series from 78 to 85. The show was shown on TV Land in 99, again in 2004, and then on MeTV from 2014 to 2016.
Those guys did things outside of TV and film as well. I saw one of those Defunctlands or something, and there was a Song of the South attraction, like a Disney dark ride kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe those guys designed all those robotics and stuff that were used in that attraction. And then they did design work for McDonald's. So all that McDonald's land stuff they designed, and then McDonald's screwed them out. That's like there's a video out. That's where I got that information from. So I'm sure it's around YouTube or somewhere, and that McDonald's hired those guys to basically come up with that McDonaldland concept.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, I guess McDonald's didn't want to pay them, or something happened. So then there was a dispute, and then there was a legal battle. So the Croft brothers sued McDonald's, and I guess it was in litigation for years. But what McDonald's did is they changed their designs enough, and they still went forward with McDonald's land, like Mayor McCheese and all that stuff. And so even as that case was going, that stuff was airing. Like McDonald's was making billions of dollars off that. And so the irony is that the brothers won the case, but by the time they won, what they had created for McDonald's was now $1 billion franchise versus the millions of dollars that they won in the lawsuit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was absolutely insane. It was pretty sad, actually, to watch because, being a creative person, you don't like to see people taken advantage of like that. And what would it cost McDonald's? Come on, man. Just, let them design it, pay them what they, what's fair. And that's that. But no, they had to screw them over.
Yeah, and those guys did so much. Todd in the chat was saying they also did Land of the Lost.
Yeah, they did Land of the Lost. They did Lidsville. They did Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. They did the Bugaloos. Like there was a ton of kids superprogramming. What was it, Electra and Dyna Girl or something like that? They did like a superhero show. Yeah, they did. They were all over the place. And there's even, like I mentioned on the other stream, there's a band. They're called Angel, and they were from the 70s. And they had this, this I don't know, mascot or whatever it was. And it rose up from behind the drums, and it talked. It was like an Egyptian god, like looking thing. And so that was designed by those brothers. Like they did I guess they built the mechanisms and all that stuff for that that effect or whatever the hell it was. So they had quite a bit of credibility and did a lot of things outside of just that, those TV shows. Are they still alive? Do you know?
Oh, I can look it up. I haven't heard anything from them in a long time.
So most of you guys are younger, so I think that those Sid and Marty Krofft things were pretty much must see for kids my age. All right, I'm going to do the big background finale, and then we're going to wrap this one up. So you guys were one backer away from doing the raffle. So if we can get one backer on Chrono Mechanics, we can raffle this off right now. And one of you lucky backers will win this fantastic Art Thibert Mike Mignola drawing of H.R. Pufnstuf. He can't do little because he can't do enough. That's right.
Well, Marty Krofft was still alive as of 2018.
Oh, okay. I like they didn't just call themselves the Croft brothers. It was like Sid and Marty Croft. Like their egos were like, no, each one of our names have to get into this.
Right. Oh, I see birth dates here, but no death dates. So I guess they are still alive.
Wow, that's cool.
Wow. If they are, man, they are doing. Whew. Old guys. Sid was born in 1929.
Holy shit, he can't be alive. How old would you have?
And Marty was born in 1937.
Wow.
So Sid would be 91 now. And Marty would be 83.
I guess that's doable, yeah.
Yeah, so they got started in the 60s, and then they're for anybody who's not familiar with them, they got started with their shows in the 60s, and then really got the bulk of their fame came in the 70s, and they still had a couple of shows going in the early 80s, like Land of the Lost, as Todd had mentioned earlier in the chat.
It's funny because you think like when you see like Jim Henson, like how that shit started, and it just created an empire. Like it was puppets. Like at least like the Marty Krofft stuff, that was a lot more intricate. You know, there was a lot more stuff going on. But the Henson stuff, those were literally hand puppets. You know, that was like a person with their hand inside of a puppet. And it's amazing how it became a $1 billion enterprise, you know, based on they were hand puppets. You know, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you were talking about how those guys got screwed over by Disney, and Spirit Scar in the chat was saying that the McDonald brothers also got screwed over by the corporation and had it essentially stolen out from under them. He said, long history of screwing over brothers there at the Golden Arches.
Yeah, the McDonald's, just quick, their story is, I guess that guy that bought the franchise from him was a shake. He sold shake machines, like how to make
Kroc.
shake. Yeah. And so he went in there and he saw this great business and he was like, hey, I have some ideas how to make it better, whatever. And so I don't know how it got to the point where he bought it out, but he eventually just bought the brothers out. They were allowed to keep one store open, like in the deal. They were left one McDonald's like key, I guess, their main store. And so then this guy obviously, you know, turned the McDonald's into like a huge major franchise. And so he wasn't content in that. This is why I don't like big business. And I know how to succeed at it. And this is why I think I always stay relatively humble, because I never heard a story told that it didn't incorporate some kind of serious backstabbing or just bad, you know, just people acting poorly. And so what this guy did, he was so petty. He did leave those guys with their shop. Like he kept their agreement. But what he did is he opened a bells and whistles McDonald's right across from the original McDonald's. And within a year, he buried them. He put the original McDonald's out of business. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's...
Why? Why did you do that? Just let that shop be. Like, why did you have to do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing I don't understand about like really these, because it's the same brain that makes them do what they do, but it also can be really destructive. You know what I mean? And petty. And that's the part of it that really bugs me. Because I've been close to some really big successes in my life. and I'm not going to name any names, but I've seen a lot of pettiness go on as well for no reason at all, because it's kind of like when we were talking about Diamond and Steve Jeppy, on Pontificators last week, and we were saying that he's like, I welcome competition. It makes me work harder. It's good for everybody, competition. But yet you destroyed your competition. You know what I mean? Like, if you were about competition, then don't you work along with the competition? You know what I mean? Like, you compete against them, but you don't necessarily try to destroy them. You just try to keep making a better product, but you don't do hanky-panky or cheating to get, you know what I mean, to get there.
Yeah. Speaking of Diamond, it's interesting. Did you get to see that live stream yesterday?
No, you sent me that post. I haven't had time.
Oh, I'm chomping at the bit to get into it with the Pontificators.
Well, we have one day. My friend. We'll do it tomorrow.
So yeah, I was just gonna say, if since you hadn't gotten a chance to watch it, if you can watch it between now and then, I think that you'll have a few things to say about it as well.
Yeah, I think that these guys, like all business, I don't think they're quite what they always seem to be, and there is a lot of pettiness and behind the scenes shenanigans that go into basically destroying your competition. You know what I mean? And that's one way of looking at it. And if your competition is coming out and they're taking shots at you, yeah, defend yourself. Or if they have an inferior product, just let the market take care of it. You know what I mean? Let the market devastate them and then move on. But I'm just not sure that I'm not really good at that type of business, where you actually want to destroy the competition. Especially if it's good for business, then why would you want to destroy it?
Right.
Just work harder and make a better product. Compete fairly. I guess that's it. Compete fairly. All right. I just got a notice from my wife. So this means this is good news. That means that let me hit refresh. 9-11-554. So like I said, we did get a backer. That backer number just did not shift over.
Okay.
So there have been 5 backers during this stream. So thank you guys so much. We did get the 5 backers, and we are, what are we, like 80? No, what is that? Yeah, $89 away from 41,000. Holy shit. That is killer, you guys. Thank you so much. And that means we need to do a raffle. Is that what that means, Joe?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, we might have to do a raffle here. Let me go. I'm going to mute myself so I can yell at my wife.
Adrian.
Yeah, I yelled at her to bring her number generator in. We're going to do this. So I think she's going to have to go down and find out the exact backer number too, because they're higher than the ones that show up, because we learned that the other day. And we don't want to exclude anybody, Joe. Nobody. Except you.
No one except me gets left behind.
Sadly, we will have to not make you part of this raffle. Get the number generator. We're going to do the raffle live.
Oh, I thought you did it on Fridays.
Yeah, but we made the number. We could torture people. We could make them wait. Oh, thanks, Comics Bear. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, if you haven't checked the Comics Bear channel, go check it out. It's absolutely hilarious, and he does everything in a gorilla suit. Yeah, so gorilla suit's big with him. Mark yells, Pamela! Yeah, that's what I did. I yelled, man, we're approaching that 3 o'clock hour. Like clockwork, man, this room is a furnace. Do you have your AC going, Joe?
Yeah, AC and ceiling fans, and we're getting your pool ready. We're getting our hot tub ready, and this year we put a gazebo over it. And so I'm waiting on a new filter that should show up any day now, and as soon as it shows up, I'm putting it in and firing it up.
Fire it up. Fire it up. Remember that from The Crow?
Yeah.
Just before they swallowed the bullet. I guess that proves they're badass. So make sure we get all the numbers in.
Right. I need you to go to the Chronos site
Why?
to get the last number.
We need the number, the actual number from the backer number.
Exactly. Go to the site. Okay. Go to perks claimed.
People can hear you.
I know. Perks claimed. Down. Yeah.
We're trying to find out what the number is.
587.
It's 587. It says 573. Showing all 573. Is that the number right there?
This also includes any that were canceled.
I know. That's why I went 573. Where did you get 583?
Because this is the last backer number.
Oh, okay. Why does it say that then? That looks more official than that number. Never question your wife. She knows shit. Are you guys on pins and needles? I'm on pins and needles. We need a drum roll. The Crow is one of the best comic films of all time. James O'Barr doc on DVD is James O'Barr doc on the DVD is revelatory.
Didn't you and Amanda meet him and drive him crazy?
Oh, we partied. We partied with that guy. It was so funny because I kept quoting The Crow and driving him crazy. Okay, so I hit the number generator.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to hold this up. Let's see if we can do this. I'll do it this way. Oh, stupid light. You can't see it. Can you see it? Oh, that you can kind of see it if I angle it. So then I just hit generate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's 102, you guys. So backer number 102. Yeah, she's going to go check and see if it's still valid. Ooh, exciting. 102. It'd be awesome if we actually could get somebody in the chat.
That would be great.
So, hey, Joe, check to see if you're 102.
I'm not.
I'm not. I'm not 102. There are days I feel 102.
Oh, I hear that. I was up on the ladder out in the backyard. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Your knees? Is it the knees or the back?
The back is the worst, but because of the back, I also have bad knees, and the back will make the legs worse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's both.
Wait. Oh, I thought albino. Don't do that. I saw a number in the chat. Backer 102, you're up. I thought it was you. It's weird how you see things peripherally.
Yeah.
Looking around, as I all I saw is 102. Also, you guys, this could be the magic number because 102 is also my favorite size nib. So this is a Hunt 102. Yes. It's a magic number. All right. Everybody quiet. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we were talking about The Crow, and Spirit Scar in the chat was saying that on the DVD or Blu-ray of The Crow, there's a bonus feature that has a documentary about James O'Barr. He said it's about 30 minutes. It's really good.
Yeah, that's what I think. I thought I read that just a minute ago. But yeah, like James O'Barr is a character for sure. And so where was it? We were in Kentucky, or I forget where we were, but we did a show with James O'Barr. And so one of the things, like when you fly to the East Coast or Midwest, sometimes for a while there, we were always routed through, Pamela says 102 is good. So 102 is a valid number. So congratulations, 102. You won this fantastic HR Pufnstuf artwork. Did you see it, Pamela? Did you see it done?
That's cute. I like him.
He's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Pamela, for doing that. Everybody in the chat were like yelling, Pamela. Oh, Shadowhawk says, Hail Mama Bear. Hail Mama Bear.
Oh, how sweet. And you guys are talking about my favorite movie.
Yeah. Oh, Pamela loves The Crow. She absolutely loves The Crow. She had posters of The Crow in the office here.
I also had the big 12-inch statue.
Oh, you had the trading card set? You had the statue? Yeah.
I remember seeing The Crow at a drive-in. It was the first film on a double feature.
Oh, cool. Actually, I want to go to a drive-in since they'll probably be the first theaters to open after they lifted some of the restrictions. And I'm going to take the family out, and we're going to go see a cheesy freaking movie at the drive-in.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So 1021, congratulations. And should we wrap this up? Have we done enough damage here, Joe?
I think we may have.
Yeah. 5 backers in 1 live stream? Woo!
Not bad.
Yeah, I think it's all the shiny buns. I think you're the good luck.
Well, I certainly try.
It has nothing to do with the artistry. It's all about the buns.
It's all about the buns, yeah.
The kids love the Thunder Buns. What can I say?
El Gargoyle said an old friend of his was related to James O'Barr and got some original art from him.
Oh, well, okay. I'm going to start telling some James O'Barr stories real quick then. Okay, so we're flying in, and they always have these layovers in Arizona. So we're sitting there. My daughter loves The Crow as well. She loves all the goth stuff, and she was a little bit younger at the time. And so we would do these shows together. So she models. She does what they call alternative modeling. And she also paints and draws geek culture stuff. So she gets invited to a lot of these shows as well. So we were going to this I forget where it was, but we're in, we're waiting for our next flight. We're in Arizona, and I look at this guy and I turn to Amanda. I go, that's James O'Barr. She knows these artists by name. And she goes, how do you know that? I go, look closer. And he had his art, he flies. He doesn't pack his art tools. He has one of those lunchbox things.
Yeah.
And it has his tools in it. And it actually says his name. It's not small. It's not small. It says his name across the side. It says James O'Barr. It doesn't even just say O'Barr. It says James O'Barr. How when you were a kid, you'd have to sign your stuff because other kids would sign. It's how you prove that it's yours. This is my lunchbox, This is my Pufnstuf lunchbox. How do you know? It's got my name in it, you sons of bitches. And so I said, go over and talk to him. And so then she's like, okay. And so we just got along and started hanging out in the airport and then on the plane. And then when we got there, we were staying at the same hotel. So we just kind of bonded in a really cool way. That guy's really messed up, and he's funny, but in a really dark, deadpan way, which I kind of like, and my daughter definitely does. So, I think it's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but it is ours. So we had a ball just hanging out with this guy. And so then he comes up to my table, we set up in the morning, and he looks and he goes, you know what? It's okay, but all you're doing is stealing Art Adams. You're swiping Art Adams. I go, excuse me? He goes, yeah. He goes, look at your work, man. I go, I do like Art Adams, but there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of other influences going. I don't see them. And he goes, he just walks away, right? He doesn't let it resolve itself or anything.
Yeah.
It's like, you son of a bitch. And so to get to the bathroom, he had to go past my table every time. So for 2 days, Joe, all I hear is Art Adams swiper. You just say it under his breath. He Art Adams clone, Art Adams swiper. And so it's like, holy shit, right? This is hilarious. Because it's like, I get that guy's humor, you know what I mean? So it's edgy and it's like, it's dick-ish, but for me, it was absolutely hilarious. And so then we were going to the airport and we were going to get some dinner first. So the person that was running the show was like, hey, where do you want to go? So we went to some barbecue place, right? So, the weather was getting kind of, maybe it was Texas. The weather was starting to look like storm clouds. And so then the promoter goes, wow, it looks like it could be rain. And then I said, well, it can't rain all the time. And so, because that's a quote from the movie. So I think one of the little girl says something, and then the crow says, well, it can't rain all the time. So all I did was every time somebody would say something, I would quote the crow. And so I was doing it, one as payback for the Art Adams jokes, but two, I wanted to see if I could break him because he doesn't smile. You know what I mean? He'll say things, but he doesn't let you know that he doesn't let you in on the joke. He's one of those guys. And I've been told by my wife, especially, that I don't telegraph stuff either. Even though I smile a lot, I don't see how. But she says sometimes I don't know if you're joking, and so I kept saying this throughout the evening, and so finally I broke him, and he just cracked. Joe, he just cracked the smallest of smiles.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I got to get a smoke. And as he got up and turned, I saw a full-on smile. I broke James O'Barr, and then Amanda saw it too, and then and so did the promoter. And so as soon as he left, he goes, "You finally broke him." He goes, "You can stop now." And I go, "No, I got him on the ropes."
That's funny.
So all the way to the airport, we did the same. So this is when I knew that the guy has a big heart, right? So we got to the airport a little late. So my kiosk, you know how you have the little kiosk to get your tickets now at the airport?
Yeah.
So I'm going through the kiosk, and he got to his just before me. I mean, just a millisecond before. And so mine started kicking me out, but he got his tickets. So then I'm like, what the fuck, And so he came over. So he goes, move over, move aside. What's your code? What is, so he just took charge, right? And it bounced him out too. And then I finally said, I think maybe it's because, sometimes they'll cut you off. And he said, well, if that's the case, he goes, you're on your own. So he took off, but he was so caring, you know what I mean? Like uncharacteristically caring that we got the ticket and that we got on the plane. So I knew that the guy had a heart. And so the lady came over that works, at the, the ticket thing. She goes, sorry, you've been booted out. I go, that guy right there just got his ticket. He got here like a second before. We came over together. And then she goes, well, I'm sorry. And I go, listen, I got to get on that plane. So she made it happen. She got me on the plane. I don't know why she gave us so much shit. So we get on, and there is the biggest Cheshire grin from ear to ear, and he just goes, about time. We had to walk by James, and he just goes, about time. And he's just smiling, but not like a nice smile, like a smile.
Yeah.
So I love the hell out of that guy. I think if I saw him at another show, we would do the same thing, because he just has that kind of sense of humor, and he gets it. And I think he liked the idea that I didn't, I didn't take offense to the jokes. So then he knew that we were a kindred spirit.
That's great.
Yeah. So I thought he was a great dude. And I do a convention in a heartbeat with that guy, because I had a ball. So, and he's a big, the family, the whole Thibert clan likes that movie and likes the comic. Although, I'm sorry, James, the comic, there were some great stuff in the comic that they took directly from the comic and made it into the movie. But what is this, Sally? I forget the writer's name. He did a genius amount of work in that screenplay, because there are scenes from the book, but man, that guy redeemed that character and made him, without losing the edge, made him a likable guy. Because in James O'Barr's comic book, I don't know if you read it, Joe, that Crow, he kills indiscriminately. Like, he kills cops. Like, he just, anybody that gets in his way, he kills.
Okay.
In the movie, he only killed those people that wronged his fiance. You know what I mean? Everything was pretty focused, and everything was, so it made him, that one difference made him more likable, because he was out for justice and about vengeance. It wasn't just about like his anger and rage.
Yeah.
Even though there was a lot of that going on, but not to that extent. Oh yeah, wait. If this is what I think it is, James does have a dark humor. Check out Calbert presents a short story, Gideon's Pawn. Okay, I thought you were talking about the pawn shop scene. The pawn shop scene that's in the movie is almost 100% from the comic book. And I love stuff like that, where they'll take things, directly from the comics, and they'll put those in the movie. They did that with the first Addams Family. They took some of those actual comic strips from the comic, from the Charles Addams comic strip, and put those in the movie. And I thought that's when somebody really cares, unlike how we were talking earlier on with Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars. Those guys didn't give a shit about anything.
Well, J.J. Abrams said in an interview that was published not that long ago that when Kathleen Kennedy interviewed him for the job and he accepted it, because I guess she tried to get him a couple times and he turned her down. But in the interview that he did with her, where he took the job, she basically said, you have to have a female protagonist and you have to kill off the leads from the original trilogy. Otherwise, you can do whatever you want. And that was the only direction she gave him.
Right. Yeah, pretty much handcuffed him creatively what he could do. Who in the right mind would take a job assignment like that? Like, I have to kill off the 3 leads? No, thank you. I mean, this is what I was talking about, like business and stuff. Like, how could you even take that job assignment? Like, it was clear up front. I couldn't do it because I would just be like, these are beloved characters. They still have many stories we could tell with these characters. Are you sure you want to do this? Like, I would doubt everything, that she had said. But he took the job, and not only did he take the job, but what's come out is that whole kind of business thing that he was doing with Star Trek, that he did with Star Wars. And we'll talk about this on Pontificators, I'm sure, where he tried to rebrand those franchise so that he could get ownership of them. Yes. Even something stupid like changing the Millennium Falcon's satellite, like just little things that then he could claim as his own. Like, okay, I'm just going to be blunt. Fuck you. You didn't create this shit. How dare you? Like, this is what I mean about integrity in business. Like, you're going to change this thing just so you could claim this as your own. How much money is enough money, J.J. Abrams? You know what I mean? How much more of your soul do you feel like you have to sell to get ownership? You didn't fucking create the Millennium Falcon. You didn't do this shit. Let George Lucas make the money. Let Disney make the money. Let whoever owns the IP make the money. You have no right to it. And how dare you change these things by 10% or 20% so then you can claim ownership to them? That's the whole scam that he did on Star Trek. And then look at how the Star Trek fans turned on him on that. And then to try to do the same thing with Star Wars and the Star Wars deal, he went in with that deal because he had a hard time with Paramount and the people that own Star Trek. So he didn't have that complete, is it autonomy to do whatever he wanted. So there was some battle between the old franchise and the new. But when he came in with Star Wars, he was in agreement. He wanted to obliterate all the original trilogy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they could market and merchandise all his new shit.
Yeah, you got to give 3PO a red arm so that J.J. Abrams' company gets that licensing money and not Lucasfilm.
Right. But that's a form of evil? I think that's a form of evil. That's bullshit, man. Like, why would you even think that you should stake a claim to it? Like, being who I am, I would never even think of staking a claim to it or trying to even stake a claim to it because I didn't create it. Like, that'd be like me trying to do a Batman story and then trying to take some kind of ownership from, Jerry Robinson and Bob Kane or whoever. Oh, Bill Finger and Bob Kane.
Yeah.
That would just be ridiculous. It's pretty evil. But we can pontificate the hell out of this stuff because I feel pretty passionate about these things. So we'll probably get into that. So I'm going to wrap this up. And hey, Joe, do you got a parting shot? Do you got anything you want to leave our viewers with?
Well, I'm going to drop the links that we talked about at the beginning of the show into the chat. And I would just encourage people to check out these campaigns if you haven't yet, because they're all good stuff.
Yeah, so Chrono Mechanics is obviously going strong, especially today, you guys. Thanks for the backing. Let me just go there to show this off one last time because I'm very, very proud. Oh, wait a minute. Let's not go there. We left that open. Let me open a new tab so you guys can see what we got going here. All right, there's the new tab. All right, so you should see this now, I hope. Yeah. Okay, so there's the Chrono Mechanics retrofit. We are at 40,911. We got 500. We actually have 555 backers. For some reason, the backer numbers did not click over. So that is tremendous, you guys. Thank you so much for getting us to that point. And it would be awesome if we could round that up to 41 by the end of the day. And we'll probably do these raffles again because they've just been so successful and you guys really respond to it. And I have a ball doing it. So even if you come in tonight and we can round that off to 41, you'll still be eligible for the raffle, the future raffle that we'll do. So I just want to let you guys know that as well. So thanks. That was a ton of fun. And I don't think I doxed anything, but I clicked out quick enough. And so then, we have the Black and White Second Chance campaign. So go check that out. We're going to launch that the end of this month. And so it is basically the first issue, Volume 1. So here is the Greg Capullo, the coveted Greg Capullo Volume 1 cover. So we are going to make this available for you guys again. So we've had a ton of response. People wanted to know where they can get Volume 1. Well, if you sign up right now, you will be eligible for early bird specials, and you will be eligible for a free trading card, which we showed off earlier in the stream, which was the Zach Bradley Black and White trading card, and you'll get that absolutely free with the backing. So thanks, Joe, for putting that in the link. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So, and there is for Battlebrook Road, which launches tomorrow. Is that right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yes. So very good. Yeah, go check out Battlebrook Road. It's going to go live tomorrow. That's Eric Weathers' book. And sadly, no Joe editing. We'll see how good it is. We'll see how good it is without Joe.
Well, from what I hear, Eric has a good editor on the project, so I'm sure it will be good. And I will say, though, that when Eric and I wrapped up our work on Flying Fortress Remastered, I had told him that I really enjoyed working with them, and I'd be very interested in working on any future Flying Fortress stories. And for anyone who has read the graphic novel, the overall story gets resolved, but there is definitely a lead into further stories. And Eric said that he'd like to do future stories. He just didn't have a timetable yet. But I think it was a few weeks ago, I heard him on a live stream talking about after Battle Brick Road, he might go back to Flying Fortress because he's been getting a lot of interest from people who have read the book and want more stories. So we'll see.
Yeah, that would be awesome to get some more of those Flying Fortress stories. It's kind of a cool Twilight Zone kind of idea, and I like that. It's not quite a time travel, but more like a Twilight Zone kind of time travel story, which I dig. All right, so thanks, Joe, for coming on, helping me entertain the masses here. Thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging out, making this a lot of fun for us. Thank you for the super chats, and thanks to all the backers. And if you know anybody that is backer 102, tell them that they won this fantastic Mike Mignola, Art Thibert, HR Pufnstuf drawing. So that will be going out in the mail soon. And also, you guys, all the backers, the 5 backers that we got today, you will be getting your movie script sent in form of a PDF. So sometimes those have been going to people's spam folders. So check your spam folder within the next couple of days. And if you don't get your Chrono Mechanics movie script PDF, let us know and we'll resend it. So thanks to everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow night for a Pontificators. Take care,
everyone.